Part 21. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 201. Chapter 201 Target Shooting Experience. Flying Eagle Shooting Gallery, the oldest and largest shooting gallery in Lanchinge, is located in the western suburbs of Lanchinge, connected to Junwei's horse farm. It covers a large area and has many weapons that cannot be seen in other shooting galleries. The people coming and going are all the second-generation celebrities who are looking for excitement. Lian Yu is obviously a regular visitor here. Someone greeted him as soon as he entered the door. "Master Yu, you haven't been here for a while." The person who spoke was the coach of the shooting studio that Lian Yu was familiar with. He looked at the pretty girls next to Lian Yu and understood. "Mr. Yu brought beautiful women to play today. Men, no matter their age, always like to show their heroic side in front of the opposite sex. He understands." "Master Yu, are you still at the previous venue today?" "Yeah." Lian Yu nodded. He likes to be quiet when shooting and doesn't like other people around. When he and Qin Cheng came here before, they directly booked a separate shooting venue. "Sister Yun, let's go and show you my marksmanship." Lian Yu grew up in a training base, so his marksmanship is naturally good. Yunsu nodded. Okay, she hadn't touched a gun for a long time, and her hands were a little itchy. The coach leading the way was a little confused. Why did Mr. Yu call her sister? Are they two siblings? Haven't you heard that the Lian family has a daughter? "Sister Yun, you choose first." Lian Yu directly picked up his training gun. It had been a long time, and he wanted to feel the feel of it first. Knowing guns does not mean knowing how to use them. Besides, the recoil of this gun is much stronger than that of Byleth. Looking at the thin Yunsu, he was afraid that she would hurt him. This gun is a gun that is almost always available in domestic shooting galleries. It is mainly because it is durable, easy to maintain, has high shooting accuracy and high stability. It is a good choice for beginners. The coach was stunned. She actually knew what kind of gun this was? It seems that some preparations have been made. His outlook was slightly better. Okay, since there was no need for it, he said no more and stepped aside. Yu Xiao's marksmanship was good, and he might want to teach her himself. "Miss Yun, you can try this gun. It's more suitable for beginners." The instructor took a pistol from the gun rack. Even though he was facing a vase for fun, he still dutifully gave the gun own suggestions. Yunsu looked at his gun and raised his eyebrows. "Your gun is not bad." "Sister Yun, how are you doing with your selection?" Lian Yu had already taken apart the gun in his hand and reassembled it several times. Glock 17. Lian Yu was startled, then realized, wasn't this the gun they met in the alley? "Do you need my guidance?" the coach asked thoughtfully. The coach's eyes widened slightly. What does that mean? Judging from Mr. Yu's tone, Miss Yun is quite powerful, isn't it? "Sister Yun, do you use a pistol or a rifle?" "No, I can just take a look at it myself, thank you." Yunsu interrupted him. The coach looked at her interest and said, "Miss Yun, let me introduce you." In a separate venue, rows of guns of different lengths and sizes quickly attracted Yunsu's attention. "I, Sister Yun, am not a beginner." Lian Yu knew Yunsu well. When the two of them first interacted, Yunsu's skillful way of playing with a gun told him that she was not simple. Although guns are prohibited in China, it is still possible to have your own dedicated gun in such a real gun shooting studio. Of course, it can only be used in the venue and must be accompanied by an instructor. "Okay. This is it." Yunsu picked up a gun. The coach looked at her looking around and felt a little contempt in his heart. What could he tell by just looking at her like this? He hates people who don't understand and pretend to understand. "Lian Yu, no need, it's not certain who will guide whom." Yunsu glanced at it and said, "Beret 87 is indeed suitable for beginners. Of course, this is my treasure." He was guessing this in his mind, but he only saw Yunsu standing in front of the shooting position alone, and Yu Xiao watched calmly with his fists in his hands. Yunsu played with the gun in her hand. The cold black gun did not feel out of place in her white hands. She skillfully disassembled the gun. The movement was not fast, but that was just for her. In the eyes of Coach Lian Yu, Yunsu just fiddled with it casually. Before they could react, the gun in her hand had been dismantled into a pile of parts. The coach was secretly shocked. This speed, most of the coaches at their shooting range had retired from the army, but judging from the speed of dismantling guns, perhaps not even their best coaches could reach it. What on earth was this girl like? Who? For safety reasons, every shooting range has surveillance cameras monitoring it in real time. At this moment, in the monitoring room, Li Ying, the owner of the shooting range, looked at Yun Shugong's move and was so shocked that he forgot to drink the tea in his cup. He cut the picture of the Yunsu venue to the big screen. Lao Li, this little girl is not simple, a man wearing a tang suit next to him exclaimed. It's really not simple, Li Ying raised a smile. He hadn't seen such an interesting thing for a long time. Drink tea, a voice as cold as jade sounded. There was a man in the surveillance room. He twisted the purple clay pot with his slender hands and poured a cup of tea for the two of them. He looked at the girl in the surveillance room with a smile in his eyes. Sister Yun, you're awesome, Lian Yu couldn't help but whistle, thinking that he was impressed by Yun Su's skill in the first place. The coach no longer had any thoughts of contempt, and watched Yun Su's movements with good eyes. This shooting gallery is truly wealthy. The longest target in the indoor shooting studio can reach 60 meters. The longest range of the gun in Yun Su's hand is 80 meters. A 60-meter target is more than enough. She reassembled the gun that had been dismantled into parts and raised her hand to aim at the farthest target. Lian Yu's eyes widened in excitement, as he saw something good going on. Yunsu stood in a relaxed posture. Unlike ordinary shooters, who strived for a standard shooting posture, she seemed to stand there casually, raising her hands with a relaxed expression, and pointing her right hand in a straight line at the target in front of her. She looked forward and lightly pulled the trigger. There was a bang sound, and Yunsu's hand shook from the recoil. 5 rings. The mechanical sound of the electronic target report sounded. Lian Yu turned his head and looked at Yunsu in disbelief. What's going on? If it were 10 rings, he would definitely think it was expected, but 5 rings. How can it be? This shouldn't be the level that Sister Yun should be. The coach was also stunned for a moment. Logically speaking, it was his first time to come to their shooting gallery. It was good that the first shot did not miss the target. Moreover, he was a girl. However, it may be because Yunsu's previous fierce operation had raised his expectations. It was raised too high, causing him to be a little unable to react now. Yunsu didn't have any other expression. It's my first time shooting this kind of target, so I'm still a little uncomfortable. What does it mean to hit such a target for the first time? What kind of targets have you hit before? Even Yu turned this sentence over and over in his mind and didn't understand it. Yunsu looked at him and said, "You don't want to know." I don't want to, Lian Yu laughed dryly. Lian Yu is a person who has a strong sense of danger. He just saw a hint of murderous intent in Yunsu's eyes. He trembled. It must be an illusion. Yunsu retracted her eyes. She didn't say anything nonsense. She had never hit such an indoor fixed training target before. All she had hit were living, moving humanoid targets. She is now a top internal skill master who does not move mountains and reclaims seas, but uses her strength to penetrate a tiny pear blossom needle. Fortunately, she already knows how to adjust when the first shot is fired. This. In the monitoring room, the man in tang suit and Li Ying looked at each other, a little disappointed. They thought this little girl could bring a surprise. Li Ying was about to cut the screen back. Don't worry, keep watching. The man who poured the tea just now smiled, and just a hint of a smile was as touching as the spring breeze on clear water. I think the good show is yet to come. Li Ying looked at him suspiciously. Why do you have so much confidence in her? The man still smiled and said nothing. The Glock 17 pistol has a total of 17 bullets. One shot has been fired just now, and there are still 16 bullets left. Yunsu still had the same careless posture. She raised her hand and pulled the trigger without even aiming. Bang! 10 rings. Lian Yu shook his head suddenly and stared at the target. The first shot had 5 rings, but the second shot had 10 rings. What is this crossing speed? The coach, who had no thoughts at all, stood up straight in an instant. Yunsu didn't give them any time to react. His face was calm and without any fluctuations, and he fired the third, fourth, and fifth shots. 10 rings. 10 rings. 10 rings. The sound of the electronic target report sounded one after another without stopping, and could hardly keep up with Yunsu's speed of pulling the trigger. Lian Yu looked suspicious of life. Could it be that the target shooter was jammed? End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 202. Chapter 202. A bullet hole. 16 bullets, 16 sounds and 10 rings resounded throughout the venue. The stunned coach turned his head and looked at the target blankly. How is this possible? He stepped forward to check in disbelief. There was only a small hole in the middle of the round target paper, right in the middle, the center of the circle. Etc. Why is there only one bullet hole? Could it be? He immediately turned on the high-speed camera next to him. This shooting studio was very wealthy. In order to better review the moment when the close-range shot hit the target, a high-speed camera was purchased to capture the shot. The coach looked back at the scene just now and could clearly see that except for the first shot, the subsequent 16 shots all hit the same location, so there was only one bullet hole on the target paper. What terrifying precision and control this requires. What's more, there is no hesitation in every shot she takes. Every shot is extremely decisive. This kind of marksmanship is really terrifying. This level cannot be achieved by feeding bullets. The coach was filled with shock and looked at the girl who threw the gun to Lian Yu. Go on. The man is sitting casually, his finger joints are as slender as pine, and the emerald teacup is playing with it in his hand, shining brightly. Is it the one you were talking about before? Of course Li Ying knew Xin Tian. He wanted to try it at first, but he was almost kicked away by his hoof. I went to a race course before and watched a wonderful horse racing. You know his most powerful horse, Xin Tian, right? This girl tamed it? The man in tang suit also exclaimed in admiration. I actually made a mistake sometimes. Sun Rui was confused. Have I seen it before? But how do you know that she is a good marksman? The man looked at the person who was quietly drinking tea. Who is this girl? There is such a gunman in Lanjing. Li Ying's eyes lit up, as if he had discovered a treasure. I am quite familiar with that boy from the Lian family. The man chuckled lightly. I know you. He looked at the man in tang suit. Uncle Sun, you have seen him before. It's her. Sun Rui's eyes widened. He remembered the person who tamed Xin Tian when he mentioned it. It's her. This child is really proficient in all kinds of martial arts. Li Ying looked at the two people playing riddles and asked, what are you talking about? I don't know, I just believe her. Tame a person who has served his sentence. Sister Yun, I really belong to you. Lian Yu was convinced and gave a thumbs up. Although he knew that her shooting skills must be good, he never expected that she would be so good. Right. The three people in the monitoring room were also shocked by the scene just now. Li Ying turned around and asked, do you know her? After thinking for a while, he dialed the internal number. Li Ying touched his chin and became more interested in Yun Su. Miss Yun, Mr. Yu, our boss would like to invite you two to come up and sit down. The coach who received the news said to them with a very respectful expression. Your boss? Lian Yu was confused. He had been to the Flying Eagle shooting gallery so many times, but he had never seen the owner of the store. It seemed that he came here for Sister Yun. He looked at Yunsu with a questioning look. Yunsu was non-committal, glanced at the message he had just received on his phone, and agreed. Okay, the coach led the two of them upstairs. This floor is their boss's exclusive shooting training room. Lian Yu knocked on the door politely, dong dong dong. Please come in. The man's voice was calm and mellow. Yunsu raised his eyebrows. It sounded like this mysterious boss was quite young. The door opened, and what came into view was a tea table. The purple clay pot was still steaming, and the three of them were sitting around it, quite interesting. Yunsu frowned as he watched the scene and looked at the man who was still holding the teacup. Junwei, you are in good health, right? Did I say you can't drink tea in a short time? The man was Junwei. His body stiffened. How could he have forgotten this? It took almost a year for the remaining poison in his body to be cleared. This was much earlier than Yunsu had expected, but it was still in the recovery stage. The prescription Yunsu prescribed contained a medicine and a certain ingredient in tea. The conflict between these substances will reduce the potency of the medicine. Yunsu has told him many times to drink less tea, but he has followed Ji Sunkaiu since he was a child and his favorite thing is to drink tea. Junwei hurriedly threw the cup away and said, just drink a little, a little. Yunsu snorted coldly, I'll ask Uncle Jun later. Don't. Junwei was about to cry but had no tears. His father was strictly guarding him at home and wouldn't let him drink tea, so he came out to touch Li Ying, but Yunsu caught him again. Lian Yu looked at the familiarity between the two and asked in a low voice, Sister Yun, do you know each other? Lian Yu naturally knew Junwei, the famous heir to the Jun family in Lanchinj Junzi, but he didn't expect Sister Yun to be so familiar with him. A patient, Yunsu said casually. Patient? Lian Yu's eyes widened. Is Sister Yun's business scope so wide? Come and sit down. Junwei asked Yunsu to sit down quickly. The gentleman's demeanor in Lanchinj disappeared in an instant. He just hoped that she would not mention this matter again. Yunsu sat down, and Lian Yu also sat down, ready to be used as a wooden stake. Li Ying and Uncle Sun were dumbfounded watching the interaction between the two. Is this dog-legged look still the Aye they knew? Are they that familiar? Li Ying couldn't help but said, what are you doing? Yunsu raised his eyes and looked at him. He must be the owner of this shooting gallery. He was no more than 30 years old, with a masculine face and an air of righteousness that could not be ignored. Yunsu knew in his heart that this boss must have retired from the army. Down. Junwei looked at Yunsu where the old was, and introduced him, this is the doctor who healed me. Li Ying and Uncle Sun are both people close to him, so it doesn't matter if they know. What? The person who reacted the most was Sun Rui. He was a family friend of the Jun family, so he naturally understood Junwei's physical condition better. In the past, he always had a sense of depression, but since the beginning of last year, his body has become visibly, when things get better, the whole person feels like he has been reborn. He asked Jun Tainshi to find out that they found a miracle doctor and cured Junwei's illness. Naturally, he was happy for him. He also asked the Jun family and his son who the miracle doctor was, but both of them were vague. He automatically imagined a worldly master with an air of immortality. After all, Junwei's disease could not be cured by Ji Sunkaiu, the master of traditional Chinese medicine. But now Junwei actually told him that the underage girl in front of him turned out to be the doctor who cured him. Sun Rui was shocked, and the image of a worldly master with a fairy spirit instantly collapsed in his heart. Even you didn't notice anyone else, and poured himself a cup of tea. Looking at the two people's surprised expressions, he felt an inexplicable sense of superiority. Why are they making such a fuss? There are many things that Sister Yun is awesome about. Li Ying looked at Junwei and then at Yunsu, still in disbelief. Doctor. Yes, Junwei nodded. Li Ying was silent. He had just wanted to ask the girl if she had received formal training. But now Junwei told him that the girl was a doctor, which made him not know how to speak. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 203. Chapter 203 Shooting Competition. There has been no news from you in the past 2 months. Master has been asking about you. Junwei poured tea for Yunsu himself. Ji Sun Kaiu hadn't contacted Yunsu for a long time and was getting angry. Yunsu had called him back last night. Yunsu took a sip of tea and said, "We have been contacted." "That's good." Sun Rui looked at Yunsu, very curious. His impression of her was still the same as when she was at the race course. Her heroic appearance impressed him deeply. "Little girl, do you have a relationship with Mr. G?" Sun Rui asked. "Did she learn her medical skills from Mr. G? But isn't ice illness something that even Mr. G can do nothing about? Is it true that green is better than blue?" Junwei looked at Yunsu, who was silent, and spoke with difficulty. "She is actually a sister and brother to my teacher, which means she is actually my senior aunt." "Senior aunt?" Lian Yu couldn't hold it back and took a sip of tea. I'm sorry. No one paid attention to his gaffe. Everyone was shocked. Li Ying's face twisted for a moment. Is this little girl the senior sister of Ji Sun Kaiu, the master of Chinese medicine? How can this be? Yunsu nodded and said, "Just call me Yunsu." Li Ying calmed down and said with a smile, "Miss Yun, I am Li Ying, the owner of this shooting gallery. I am more than 10 years older than you. If you don't mind, you can call me Brother Li. Xiaoun is indeed a smart person, and I like to talk to smart people." Li Ying praised. The admiration in his eyes became even brighter, and his title changed from Miss Yun to Xiaoun. "We are having a shooting competition here in a few days. I wonder if you are interested," Li Ying said his purpose. He and Sun Rui looked at each other. There must be something hidden in this, but what they could know was that this little girl was indeed not simple. "Shooting competition," Yunsu asked with light fingers, "is there any prize?" She didn't think that a simple shooting competition could allow Li Ying to invite people to participate in person. Mr. Ji Sun Kaiu has been practicing medicine for decades. This little girl is only 20 years old. How could she be Mr. Ji's senior sister? Sun Rui also nodded in agreement. "The prize in this game is this land. The racecourse and shooting gallery are all related to riding and shooting sports. The superiors have taken a fancy to the potential here and want to build it into the largest cultural and sports base in Lanchinge and even S province." "Okay," Li Ying liked this kind of girl with a straightforward personality. "I just saw your shooting scene. Your marksmanship at such a young age should not be underestimated. You have been opening the gym for so long, and there should be so many experts in the gym. Why did you ask me to participate in the competition?" What Li Ying said really gave her a lot of face. The Flying Eagle Shooting Gallery has been rooted in Lanchinge for a long time, and its background is profound and mysterious. Just by relying on the weapons that other shooting studios have no source of sources, we know that Li Ying is not a simple person. Yunsu frowned. Shouldn't the issue of land be decided by unified bidding from above? How can it be decided by a shooting competition? The two of them reached a tacit agreement and did not mention the matter again. "You've given me the award." Yunsu's expression remained unchanged, without any hint of pride. Li Ying was not surprised that she would ask this question. This place is developing rapidly. The superiors see it in their eyes. They are happy to see the competition among several companies. After all, the more intense the competition, the better the development prospects here. This competition is one of them. What the company came up with is a formal competition organized by the above, and the winner will get priority to bid. Our shooting gallery has been open here for almost 10 years, and Ice Horse Farm has always occupied this land in the western suburbs. In recent years, this area has developed rapidly. With such a large land, many people will inevitably look at it with envy. It turns out that this is the case. She said, how could a shooting competition decide such a big thing? In fact, it was just a competition to test the strength of each family. Li Ying took a sip of tea, thought for a moment and said, there is still a piece of land to the east of our shooting gallery, which has become the target of competition among various companies. I want to acquire it to expand the shooting gallery, and naturally some people want to get a share of the pie. Li Ying smiled bitterly and said, if we were just competing against shooters trained by ourselves, I wouldn't be afraid, but they invited Carlos Hathcock. Carlos Hathcock, Lian Yu, who had listened silently for a long time, cried out with an expression of disbelief on his face. What did he hear? It's Carlos Hathcock? Who? Yunsu looked confused. Is he very powerful? Lian Yu was speechless, looking at her like an alien. Sister Yun, I really don't understand why you know so much about guns. Do you know anything about experts in these fields? He told Yunsu science with fascination and admiration. Carlos Hathcock, the former gun king of the Marine Corps of M country. After retiring, he participated in shooting competitions in various countries around the world. He won awards and was soft-handed. He was known as the king of guns and the god of snipers. Do you think he is awesome? Yunsu nodded silently, saying that was indeed quite powerful. Are foreign players still allowed to participate in this competition? Yunsu was puzzled. Li Ying, there is no clear rule above that foreign players are not allowed to participate, which allows them to take advantage of the loopholes. On the other hand, being able to invite him is also a manifestation of strength. This competition is more than just a simple shooting competition. The competition is not only for the priority bidding rights of a piece of land, but also for the confidence and glory of the Flying Eagle shooting gallery over the years. Since we are facing such a person, you still want me to participate? She didn't think Li Ying had much confidence in her. Li Ying sighed and said, no one has a chance of winning against Shanghai Skok. I just hope that the loss will not be too embarrassing. Your marksmanship has far surpassed that of my coach here, so I invite you to participate, regardless of the result. How about that? The reward for you will be generous. Yunsu shook his head, I'm not short of money. Jun Wei nodded silently. It was absolutely impossible for a top miracle doctor to be short of money. When Li Ying was discussing with Sun Rui just now, he felt that there was little hope that Li Ying could invite Yunsu to compete. Go, Sister Yun. Lian Yu encouraged Yunsu with excitement on his face. The opportunity to compete with Carlos is something you can't even ask for. Yunsu glanced at him and said, you are so happy, why don't you go? Lian Yu shrank his neck and said, forget it then, isn't he just there to deliver food to people? Sister Yun might still be able to struggle a little. A trace of disappointment flashed across Li Ying's face. Okay, then he couldn't force it? But Yunsu looked up at him, I like challenging things. You mean? Li Ying looked happy. I agreed. Real. However, Yunsu continued, I have a condition. You said. Li Ying calmed down. I don't need remuneration, but if I win, I will take a share of the land. Of course, I won't get it for free. How about we cooperate and win-win? Yunsu expressed his thoughts. She knows the value of the land in the western suburbs very well, and she can get a piece of the land in a game, which is a lot of money. Li Ying frowned. He really didn't expect Yunsu to make such a request. After thinking for a while, he agreed, okay. If Yunsu loses, he has nothing to lose. As long as there is a 1 in 10,000 possibility that she wins, then it will be a huge surprise for him, and her share is not excessive. No matter what the outcome, he will not a loss. Although, her chances of winning are slim and almost impossible. No one present, including Lian Yu, had any confidence in Yunsu, that was Carlos Hathcock. Is it settled in one word? It's a deal. The two hands clasped together, both parties were very satisfied. Junwei smiled, he had a hunch that this game would be very exciting. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 204. Chapter 204 Go Genius. The competition time was after the Spring Festival, so Yunsu put the matter behind her for the time being. Now, the most important thing in their family was to receive the uncle's family. Qinglian kept the house spotlessly clean inside and outside. The house was already full of New Year's goods, but she didn't think it was enough, so she went out to do some shopping. How long until uncle and the others arrive? Infected by Qinglian's emotions, Qingyu also became a little nervous. Yunsu looked at the foreign language book in her hand, took a sip of the lemon tea made by her father, and squinted her eyes happily. Come on, Dad has been out for a while. Yoon Daejin drove to pick up Yoon Daguo's family. She turned another page and said, relax, uncle, they are all easy to get along with. Yet Qingyu relaxed a little. Xiao, come here quickly, how about helping mom take a look at this dress? Where's Susu? Let Aunt take a look too. Qinglian has been trying on clothes in the room all morning. Yunsu put down the book, looked at Qingyu and smiled, here we come. Mom, just wear this. It looks good, Qingyu said. Qinglian heard the noise and came out of the kitchen quickly. A delicate person like Qinglian is even more sensitive to other people's emotions. Feeling the kindness exuded by Cao Liun, she finally let go of herself and no longer felt nervous. Cao Liun looked at Yunsu and Qingyu, her smile became more genuine. These two sisters stand like flowers together, so beautiful. Sister-in-law, please come in quickly. I am Qinglian, you can just call me Alian. Qinglian greeted quickly, Xiao, come in quickly. Qinglian looked behind them and did not see the two Yun brothers. Where are the eldest brother and the others? Yunsu also nodded, that's it, Aunt Qing, it's very beautiful. Yunding's mother has passed away for so many years. It's not like no one introduced him to him before, but he rejected them all. Now Yoon Daejin finally has someone around him who understands both cold and hot, and they are very happy for him. Okay, that's it. Qinglian didn't hesitate anymore. Oh no, I made the soup. She hurried to the kitchen and was busy again. Qingyu glanced at Yunsu in surprise. He had never seen her so affectionate and soft as a little girl. Oh, this is my sister-in-law, right? She's really good looking, so young. Cao Liun's eyes lit up when she looked at Qinglian, and she held her hand affectionately, smiling brightly. Hello, Auntie Yun. Xiao had gotten along with Qinglian before when she was at the Yun family, and she was naturally familiar with her. But what she didn't expect was that she would call her auntie this time instead of calling her auntie last time. It didn't take long for Yoon Daguo's family to arrive by car from Xiashui town. Just after 11 o'clock, Yoon Daejin took them back. What are you kidding? Cao Liun nodded her nose and said angrily, Auntie, I miss you. I miss you, too. Yunsu took her hand and acted coquettishly. Qinglian was stunned. Obviously she didn't expect this sister-in-law whom she met for the first time to be so enthusiastic, but at the same time, because of her actions, her tense nerves relaxed a little. When Yoon Daguo and Cao Liun received the news of Yoon Daejin's remarriage, they asked her how Qinglian was as a person. They were relieved to learn that she was very good to Yoon Daejin's family. Qingyu greeted Guai, hello, eldest aunt. So good. Cao Liun touched her head. Qinglian is living a happy life now, and she is much younger than when Yunsu first met her. She looks gentle and elegant, with a quiet temperament. She wears a plain knitted skirt with matching the beige coat, makes people feel friendly just by looking at it. Auntie can't even see me now, alas, Yunsu said deliberately sourly. Cao Liun, they are moving things downstairs. Don't worry about them. Let's talk about ourselves. Yoon Xiao curled her lips, and she knew that her mother was actually a hidden face controller. Susu could forget it, but now that she had another King Yu, she couldn't look away. Hey, where is the small pavilion? Cao Liun looked around and didn't see Yunting. Qinglian smiled and said, I went to play chess at my neighbor's house upstairs. Play chess? Cao Liun explained, I don't know when he learned to play Go. The neighbor's uncle upstairs is surnamed Zhao. He used to be the coach of our provincial Go team. He said that our Xiaoting's talent in Go is very good. He is now retired. I had nothing to do every day, so I accepted Xiaoting as my student. Xiaoting now has to go to his house to play chess for a few hours every day before coming back. I will call him later. Seeing the pride on her face, Cao Liun nodded secretly in her heart. Our Xiaoting's words were very natural. This sister-in-law seemed to really care about the whole family. That's good, maybe Xiaoting can become a famous chess player in the future, Cao Liun said happily. She didn't understand Go, so she didn't know how difficult it was to become a famous chess player. She was just happy for him. Yunsu didn't even think of Yunting's Go talent. After playing a few games with Yunting in person, she was pleasantly surprised to find that what Coach Zhao said was true. Yunting was indeed talented at Go. After asking about Coach Zhao's personality, Yunsu asked her father to give her a generous apprenticeship gift and let Yunting learn chess from him with confidence. Coach Zhao did his best. Recently, Yunting's chess skills have improved rapidly, and he even suggested that Yoon Daejin let Yunting sign up for the Go exam. Why haven't the two of them come up yet? Why are you lingering? Cao Liun glanced at her daughter who was lying on the sofa playing with her mobile phone. Go down and see your dad and your uncle. Yoon Xiao put down her cell phone, stood up resignedly, and was about to go out. Here it comes, Yoon Daguo gasped and put down the things in his hands. Don't you look at how many things there are? I told you to bring less, but you can't buy anything here. Cao Liun's eyes widened, but she refused. Then can the ones bought from outside be the same as those grown by oneself? There are no pesticides or hormones on the ones grown by oneself, so you can rest assured when you eat them. Okay, I can't compete with you. Yoon Daguo waved his hand and refused to argue with her. Yoon Daejin followed and came in. He threw the bag in his hand and felt a little exhausted. He hadn't moved these heavy objects for a long time after leaving Xiashui town, but he was tired. Qinglian and her daughter were stunned when they looked at the several large nylon bags placed on the ground at the door. Cao Liun introduced them to them. This bag is the sweet potatoes we grow ourselves. It is good to steam, cook porridge or grind into powder. This bag is the peanuts that have just been harvested from the field. They are fresh, and the pastries are delicious. Yes, and this, wheat flour, this is from Daejin field, we just helped collect it. That was the winter wheat that Yoon Daejin planted before coming to Lanchinj. Cao Liun said it so easily, just harvesting it, but without their help to take care of it, let alone their careful shelling and grinding of the wheat into powder and sending it over. Would there be any? The harvest is still a problem. Yoon Daejin didn't know how they brought so many things. The trunk of his car could hardly fit in them. Although he was very tired, he was also full of emotion. The friendship between brothers is like this. You don't have to say it, I will do it naturally. Qinglian looked at the bags on the ground and didn't know what to do. She tried lifting them, but they were so heavy. I'll come. Yoon-soo stepped forward. Hey, Yoon Daejin quickly stopped his daughter, it's too heavy. Your uncle and I will pick it up later. It's okay, it's not heavy. How could it not be heavy? Yoon Daejin was about to speak out. Yoon-soo had already bent down and easily picked up the two bags and walked to the kitchen. The bags, which weighed at least dozens of kilograms, seemed to be weightless in her hands. After going back and forth 2 or 3 times, she put all the bags into the kitchen. Her expression remained unchanged, and her breathing was not disturbed. She met her father's stunned gaze and said, "Look, it's not serious." Yoon Daejin did not believe in evil, so he walked to the kitchen again and tried the weight. His muscles were sore. It was obviously very heavy. How did Susu lift it up? Yoon Daegyo was also stupid. He had been working in the fields all year round and was very strong, but he couldn't do it as easily as Yoon Soo. People in the room looked at each other in confusion. When did Susu have such strength? Yoon Xiao yawned. Isn't it just that she has a little more strength? What's there to make a fuss about? What is this? After knowing what happened to Yunchinj, she wouldn't be surprised even if Susu took off in front of her. She would only think about whether she had seen too little. Okay, everyone, stop standing around. Are you hungry after running all the way? Get ready to eat. Qing Lian broke the silence in the room and walked to the kitchen. Qing Yu followed her to help get the bowls and chopsticks. Okay, everyone, sit down. Yoon Daejin also came to his senses and greeted quickly. Cao Liun, alien, let me help you. Yoon Xiao, auntie, let me serve you the food. Okay, Xiao is really sensible. Yoon Soo looked at the lively family with smiles in his eyes. I'll pick up Xiaoting and bring him back. She walked upstairs to Coach Zhao's house and knocked on the door. Yunting ran to open the door. Sister. You're here. Are uncle and the others here? What's delicious for lunch today? Yoon Soo looked at his excited little face, asked him to stand still, and said, what did the teacher say? You must learn to be calm before learning chess. If your mind is not sure, the game will be unstable. Honestly, did you want to play chess this morning? Go home. She hopes that Yunting will not be in a hurry when learning chess, but will really make up his mind to learn. Yunting defended in a low voice, I didn't. Coach Zhao has half white hair and a kind smile on his face. He said tolerantly, children, it's like this. Concentration can't be achieved in a moment. It needs to be tempered. Take your time, take your time. Coach Zhao was very happy to receive an extremely talented apprentice in his later years. He was very tolerant of Yunting and did not blindly impose strict demands on him. If someone from the previous Go team saw this, they would definitely shout unfair, can't believe this tolerant coach is the one formerly known as the Devil Coach. Excuse me for your trouble. Yoon Soo thanked him politely, then looked at Yunting, hurry up and say goodbye to the teacher. Goodbye, teacher. Yunting bowed obediently. He has always done a good job in Go etiquette. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 205. Chapter 205, Change House. Xiaoting is back. Auntie, I miss you so much. Yunting's eyes lit up and she rushed into Cao Liun's arms. Cao Liun was so happy. Auntie, I miss you too. I heard that you are learning chess recently and you are doing very well. It's great. Yunting touched his head in embarrassment and said, no, the teacher said I have just started. That's pretty good. Xiaoting must study hard. Maybe he can represent the country in competitions in the future. Cao Liun doesn't understand Go, but she knows that anyone who represents the country in competitions is very good. Good. Okay, everyone is here to eat. Yoon Daejin greeted the whole family. I'm coming. There is a large table with a dazzling array of dishes, all made by Qing Lian. Alien's craftsmanship is really good. Cao Liun took a few bites and praised. It is not easy for Yoon Daejin to make money, but after collecting everything, and it was because of his wishes, they could not give it back, so they had to find other ways to compensate. That's good. A gift. Yoon Daejin was confused. What kind of gift? He looked at Yoon Soo. Yoon Soo blinked, and he knew it was his daughter's handiwork. Get used to it. Yundaguo kept using his chopsticks, giving this younger brother and sister enough face. Then please help me keep an eye on Xiao in school. She has a naughty temper. You two sisters can be considered as having someone to look after her in the same school. Yun Xiao buried her head. She knew her parents were going to mention this matter. Fortunately, she didn't say it was from Susu. If she had, she might have been escorted to return the things that day. Yun Xiao gritted her teeth and endured it. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then laughed after reacting. I heard that Xiao is also studying at Lanchinge University. Cao Liun started a different topic. The people here are all named Yun. Although she is happy, she cannot ignore the little girl. She knows that little girls of this age are a little sensitive. She and Yundaguo were both ignorant. After checking, they found out that the computer was worth tens of thousands. Cao Liun was shocked, and Yun Xiao received a lot of criticism. Yun Daijin took into account the privacy of their mother and daughter and did not tell Yundaguo and Cao Liun in detail about the relationship between the Qing family's mother and daughter and the Yun family. Therefore, the two of them did not know much about their situation. Cao Liun, my daughter is born in March. It seems that she is still an older sister, but it's a pity that she doesn't look like an older sister at all. 8th day of April. Yeah, she's just a child. If you give her such an expensive computer, what should you do if it gets damaged? Qinglian was a little embarrassed by the praise. I don't know what you like to eat, so I just made something casually. You can get used to it. By the way, Daijin Cao Liun looked at Yun Daijin. The last time Xiao came to play, I just bothered her for so long. It was too expensive for you to give her such an expensive gift when you left. Don't do it next time. Yes, Qingyu nodded. That's a coincidence. They are of the same age. When is Xiao's birthday? Cao Liun asked Qinglian. Qingyu glanced at Yun Xiao, who looked angry, and smiled. I can do it, auntie. Cao Liun carefully took out a box from her pocket and handed it to Qinglian. You and Daijin were newly married. Although there was no ceremony, we, the eldest brother and sister-in-law, had to express our gratitude. We didn't know what to give, so we settled on a bracelet. You accept it? Yunsu suddenly smiled and said, aren't these just two Xiao? She opened the box, and inside was a water green bracelet. It looked like it was worth tens of thousands of yuan, so Cao Liun picked up the bracelet and put it on Qinglian's hand without any explanation. No, I can't accept this. Qinglian was so frightened that she wanted to take back her hand immediately. How could she accept it? You can take it if it's given to you. This is what your elder brother and I want. Yundaguo also nodded. When Yun Daijin got married, his family was poor and had nothing. As the eldest brother, he couldn't help much. Now that Yun Daijin has opened his own store, his life is not a problem and he doesn't need their help, but no matter how much he gives, it's all their kindness to the young man. Cao Liun often does farm work, but she is much stronger than Qinglian, a thin woman. She took her hand and put the bracelet on directly. Looking at Qinglian's white hands reflecting the aqua bracelet, she nodded with satisfaction. I just said that this bracelet is beautiful. Your eldest brother also said to buy a gold bracelet before. The gold is very vulgar, but this is better. She patted Qinglian's hand and refused to allow her to take it off. Daijin told us before, you are not in good health. If you carry this jade supporter with you all the time, it might really be able to nourish you. She had reached this point, and it would be a waste of time to refuse any more. Qinglian could only nod her head and thank her, but she was thinking about what gift to give in return. I'm sorry for your trouble, brother and sister-in-law. Yun Daijin's eyes were filled with emotion. Why are brothers talking about this? Come on, have a drink. Yundaguo was dissatisfied with Yun Daijin's meeting with him. Okay, let's drink. Yunsu looked at the bracelet on Qinglian's hand, thoughtfully. Yoon Daejin said, "Brother, please stay here for a while. Alien and I will accompany you around Land City." "That's right, brother, it's a rare chance for you to come here," Ching Lian agreed. Cao Liun's eyebrows were warm. "You don't need to tell me, it's not easy for Ahong to come here once. We will definitely stay until we have had enough before leaving. Don't you be upset then." Yunsu said deliberately, "How could it be? I wish my eldest aunt would always be here with me." "That won't work. I'm still used to living in the countryside. The place is big, and this place isn't big enough for me to deal with," Cao Liun joked. "Although the city is nice, there are people and cars everywhere, and it seems so crowded that it makes people breathless. She is still used to being down and free. This land is not enough, so let's find a bigger one." Yunsu's casual words silenced the whole table. Cough cough cough, Yun Xiao coughed crazily. With so much money, Susu was preparing for a showdown. Wasn't she going to pretend? "What are you talking about, kid?" Cao Liun nodded her forehead in a funny way, as if coaxing a child. "You can just change it here. Although the housing prices in Lancheng are not as scary as those in Beijing and Haishi, they are still staggeringly high. When you grow up and work, how about buying a big house for your aunt?" Cao Liun glanced at Yun Xiao and said, "I can't count on Xiao anyway." Yun Xiao? How could this be related to her? However, she really wanted to hug Susu's thigh. Woohoo! She may be the only one in the audience who knows how rich Susu is. What does buying a house mean? She wasn't surprised if Susu bought a manor. Yunding shouted loudly, "Auntie, I will buy it for you later." "Okay," Cao Liun laughed loudly, "our little pavilion is the best, and my eldest aunt is waiting for you to buy me a big house." The childish words made everyone laugh, and no one took Yunsu's words seriously. Only Yoon Daejin glanced at his daughter and knew that she would not say such things without reason. "Susu, what do you think?" As soon as Yoon Daejin's words came out, everyone looked at him in surprise. "Yoondaguo, are you serious about it?" He knew that Yoon Daejin opened 2 stores after coming to Lancheng, and the business was pretty good. He should have saved some money, but it wasn't enough to buy a house casually, right? No, Yoon Daejin didn't know how to explain it for a moment. The money he had saved was only enough for a down payment. But Susu's place? Yoon Daejin knew that she was never short of money. Although he would not have any ideas about his daughter, he still wanted to know what she thought. Yunsu met her father's gaze, pondered for a moment, and said, "Dad, let's move to another house. In the past, it was just us and the third son, so it was fine. But now that there are more people in the family, it's still a bit crowded." Upon hearing this, Qing Lian quickly said, "Susu, it's enough to live in now. How much will it cost to change to a bigger house? There's no need to spend that wasted money. Lao Yun, tell me quickly. Although this house is not big now, it is still enough to live in with 4 rooms." Qing Yu also looked at her in astonishment. Yunsu shook his head. Yoon Daejin said in a deep voice, "Let Susu finish speaking first." He knew that his daughter still had something to say. "Auntie, the size of the house is one thing, but more importantly, it's a safety issue. Although Zilu's security is good, it is still far behind other more professional security. Moreover, because of Yunsu's problems, their home address was also exposed. Reporters often poked their heads at the door. Yunsu has been thinking about this issue for a long time. Now that they have a family of 5, her safety is always taken care of. She also has the ability to protect herself, but she has to think about her family. What happened to Qing before, although she was not there, the school was kidnapped, but it also sounded the alarm for Yunsu. The above mentioned this matter to her before, saying that they would arrange an address for her for protection, but she refused. Now, although she still doesn't need the higher UPS to arrange it for her, she has to make plans on her own. I won't hide it from you. In the future, because of me, there will definitely be attention from the outside world, and all safety issues must be given top priority. Now it has attracted so much attention just because of some academic things. When Yunchinj comes out later, I don't know how many eyes will be watching her. This. Speaking of this, Qing Lian hesitated and looked at Yun Daijin, who was silent. Yun Daijin heard what his daughter said and knew that what she said was quite reasonable. He thought for a long time and said, "Okay, let's change the house and move." He has always only thought about himself and others, but has forgotten his daughter's current identity. Although he does not understand how great her achievements are, he knows that people all over the world are paying attention to her. This is a double-edged sword. As much attention as there is potential danger, he understands this truth. For the safety of my daughter, this family must move. Cao Liun and Yun Deguo were dumbfounded. How could such a big thing like changing a house be said to them as easily as buying groceries on the street? No, Daijin, how much money do you have on hand? If you don't have enough, tell me. Although we don't have much money over the years, we have saved a little. Yun Deguo looked at his brother who had made up his mind and could only help. Yes, Daijin, just ask. Cao Liun also looked concerned, and had no grudge against Yun Deguo's request for money. No, elder brother and sister-in-law. Yun Daijin declined, we can still afford to buy a house. To be precise, Susu could afford it. Yun Daijin thought inappropriately that he had to live a life of filial piety from his daughter at such a young age. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 206. Chapter 206. Do your part. Where did you get the money? Yun Deguo didn't believe it. Oh, parents, don't worry about it. Yun Xiao couldn't stand listening for a long time. Uncle, they can afford it? Cao Liun and Yun Deguo looked at her. Cao Liun narrowed her eyes and realized something was wrong. Do you know something? That's it? Yun Xiao didn't expect her mother to be so perceptive, and she was speechless for a moment, hesitating and not knowing what to say. Cao Liun even felt that she was hiding something from them. Uncle, aunt, don't worry, we can still come up with this little money. Sensing the unpretentious concern of the two people, Yunsu felt very attentive and said with a genuine smile. This little money? Cao Liun was a little confused. House prices in Lanchinj often cost tens of thousands per square meter. Buying a house costs at least several million. How much money is this? She looked at Qing Lian, who also had a confused look on her face. She obviously didn't understand the situation at home. Qing Yu lowered her head to pick up the food. When Susu could casually take out a 1 million card, she knew she would not be short of money. Yun Daijin, brother and sister-in-law, the house we live in now is not cheap. Why don't you ask how you got here? Cao Liun and Yun Deguo were stunned. Wasn't this house compensated by the Yun family to Susu? See a doctor. Cao Liun and Yun Deguo were even more surprised. When will you know how to see a doctor? Susu had grown up watching them. Qing Lian was also shocked for a moment, and then thought of the money Yun Su lent to Xiao. She had told Xiao earlier that although they were now a family, they still had to pay back the money. Susu. Yun Deguo, that's good, we won't worry about it. Yun Xiao shook her head. I don't know about that. However, she was not surprised. Cao Liun was dumbfounded and looked at her daughter with a stiff neck. Sure enough, there was no surprised expression on her face. This house was bought by Susu. Yun Daijin didn't hide it from them anymore, and his tone was very emotional. He didn't tell his elder brother and them at first because he had an intuition that the less people knew about Susu, the better. But now he understands. Susu herself is already very powerful, and there are many people standing behind her. She is not afraid of anyone knowing about Susu's abilities. She had studied medicine from Mr. Su across the village before, and she was lucky enough to save someone once, so she was rewarded. Don't say you don't know. I didn't know it before. This girl kept it a secret. Yoon Daejin smiled, his smile full of pride. Cao Liun and Yoon Daegyo looked at Yoon Soo with shocked faces, as if they were meeting her for the first time. It's just a nomination, Yoon Xiao said in an exaggerated tone, that's the field's medal. She had never thought that these 4 words could be related to her. You knew it a long time ago. I don't know about this, does that mean there are other things? No, Cao Liun was a little confused. How can a child like Susu get the money? They shook their heads to get rid of the strange feeling for a moment. No matter what, these are the children they watched grow up, and this will never change. What? Yoon Daegyo's chopsticks fell to the ground instantly, and he didn't care. What did you say? Did Susu buy this house? Yes, I didn't tell you before for some reasons. Is that Mr. Su that powerful? People in the village had little contact with him, but they didn't expect him to be such a powerful doctor. Yoon Soo smiled and said, it's just a nomination. How much money can you give to someone who is lucky enough to be saved? I'm afraid not. Susu is really smart. Cao Liun could only sigh. Last time I heard Xiao say that Susu won some kind of award. What's it called, Faye? I occasionally see patients, and I get paid by the patients, as well as some bonuses. Yoon Soo has now saved hundreds of thousands in bonuses. Yoon Xiao corrected her mother, it's the field's medal. You don't know, last time our teacher somehow found out about my relationship with you, and suddenly he placed high hopes on me, which made me so stressed now. He didn't even think about it, we could be the same brain. Computing is so difficult that I'm going to go bald. Yoon Xiao's tone was so plaintive that it made everyone laugh. I asked you to go to normal school and become a teacher after you graduate. It would be great. I don't know what's wrong with you. You have to learn that stuff. I'll see if you can find a job after you graduate. Cao Liun said this. Not angry. Why is it so difficult to find a job? Yoon Xiao was dissatisfied. Brother Hofan also studied computers, and his job is very good now. Can you compare with Ren Hofan? Yoon Xiao was choked. Auntie Yoon-soo gave Cao Liun a piece of food. Sister Xiao is very good at learning computers. Many industries now need talents in this field, and the development prospects are also very good. You should trust her more. Really? Cao Liun said hesitantly. She might not believe it if others said this, but when Yoon-soo said this, she had to think about it carefully. Yes, with Yoon-soo speaking for her, Yoon Xiao felt confident. Brother Hofan is still a recent graduate. No matter how powerful he is, he can earn tens of thousands of yuan every month and has various benefits. Well, even if I'm not as good as him, I'm not too bad. You'd better be. Cao Liun suddenly felt something was wrong. When did you become so familiar with Hofan? You even know his salary. Didn't I go to Brother Hofan's company last time? Yoon Xiao felt a little guilty. Cao Liun looked at her suspiciously. Uncle and aunt, please come with us to look at the house in the next 2 days. Yoon Soo helped Yoon Xiao change the subject. Okay. A few people started talking about the direction of the house and the choice of location, but the topic changed for a while. Yoon Xiao looked at Yoon Soo, who was smiling but not smiling, and knew that she must have noticed something. She quickly looked away and lowered her head to eat. After dinner, everyone was resting on the sofa. Qinglian called Yoon Daejin into the room. Daejin, take this. Qinglian took out a bank book from the cabinet and handed it to Yoon Daejin. Alien, what are you doing? Yoon Daejin asked with wide eyes. Don't you want to buy a house? You don't have to worry about buying a house. Yoon Daejin thrust the bank book back into her hand. There are more than 1 million yuan in this passbook. which is the money she got from selling her old house after she married Yoon Daejin. Qinglian has wanted to take it out for a long time, and this time she just has the opportunity. She stuffed the passbook back into Yoon Daejin's hand, 50,000 of the money in it was returned to Susu, and the rest was added to the money to buy a house. I can only take out so much now. No, Susu won't want it. It's her business if she doesn't want it, and it's my business if I buy a house. Buying a house is not the responsibility of one person in the family. I am also a member of the family. I must contribute no matter how much I do. How big a child is she? I feel sorry for you as a father who has to shoulder so much. The more Qinglian talked about it, the more she felt that it was not easy for Yoon-soo. Yoon Daejin looked at her firm eyes and fell silent. Okay, I'll take it first. Just accept it. Qinglian breathed a sigh of relief with a smile on her face. At night, after Yoon Daejin arranged for his eldest brother and his family to go to bed, he went to Yoon-soo's room and knocked on the door. Susu, are you asleep? Yoon-soo looked at the man on the phone whose face darkened, and said with a smile, my dad is here, I won't tell you now. Ye Qinjiao replied holding his breath. Dad, what's wrong, you're not asleep yet. Yoon Daejin took out the passbook Qinglian gave him and handed it to her. This is from your aunt, take it. Yoon-soo frowned, what is this? If you have any leftover money from your aunt, you will add it to the money to buy a house. Yoon-soo refused, I definitely can't have this, we are all a family now. That's what I said too, but your aunt insisted on giving it. Yoon Daejin sighed, I finally understand. Although your aunt is married to me now and we have become a family, she has always felt that if she doesn't receive the money she owes us, she'll feel even worse, so just take it and she'll feel better. This. Yoon-soo blamed herself, I didn't expect this. I just thought that family members don't need to be so clear-cut. I didn't expect that auntie would always have a burden in her heart. Well, I'll accept it. Yoon-soo took the passbook, but he had another plan in mind. Early on the next morning, Yoon Dae-gyo and Cao Liun had nothing to go to, so the whole family went out to look at the house. Yoon-soo first asked her assistant to find several properties with good environment and high security level for her. Money was not a problem, she still had a lot of liquidity on hand. Dad, what do you think of this community? In the east of the city, the security of the community is very good, the greening is good, the air is good, and there is a lake in the community. If you want to exercise, there is a place, and the houses are all private. It's a big building with a small courtyard. You can grow some vegetables or something if you want. It's not far from where we live now. It's also convenient for learning chess in the small pavilion. Yoon-soo took out the atlas of the community and showed it to her father. Cao Liun's eyes lit up when she heard this, it's good to grow vegetables. Grow your own vegetables, which are green and healthy. Yoon Daejin looked at the house on the beautifully printed album, touched it with his hand, and whispered, how much does it cost? Don't worry about money, just live comfortably. Then, let's go and have a look. Have a look. The family took 2 cars and rushed to the property. As soon as they arrived at the sales department, a sales lady greeted them with a smile on their face. Hello, are you Miss Yoon? Among the crowd of people, she instantly identified the person in charge. Hello. Yoon-soo nodded. Master Ling has already greeted us, please come this way. Okay, thank you, Dad, Aunt, Uncle, Aunt, come this way. Yoon-soo greeted a few people who were already fascinated. This property is also the property of the Ling family. Yoon-soo casually mentioned to Qin Jiao that he wanted to change the house, so he informed Ling Feng. Ling Feng naturally agreed with Yoon-soo. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 207. Chapter 207 Z1 number 11. The villa area is so big that the sales lady directly called a sightseeing car and introduced various community facilities to everyone along the way. This property is called Z1, and the name is in the same vein as Zilu. We at Z1 have always been committed to providing residents with the most comfortable stay experience and creating a sense of nature in the city. The greening rate of the entire community has reached more than 60%. The distance between residents is relatively far and there is enough private space, definitely not noisy. This is an artificially excavated lake in Z1. It's called Zixin Lake. The scenery is quite good. Residents often do morning exercises here. There are fish fry scattered in the lake. If you are feeling leisurely, you can also fish here. Cao Liun, who was sitting in the back row, opened her eyes wide, looked at the crystal clear lake in front of her, and exclaimed, "My dear, I actually dug a lake in the community just for viewing, so how much does a house here cost?" She didn't dare to think about it. "Mom, don't worry about it," Yun Xiao said while playing with her mobile phone without raising her head. She is not surprised that Susu bought this entire community. If Yunsu knew what she was thinking, she would definitely say, "You really think highly of me." This land is good. Cao Liun looked at the flower bed in the backyard. It's very suitable for growing vegetables. Yun Daijin also looked around. It's not bad, it's just that, let's take another look. This apartment is the one closest to Zixin Lake. It has 4 floors with a basement and an area of about 300 square meters. The first floor is the living room, reception room, and kitchen, the second floor is the audio-visual entertainment area, and the third floor is the bedroom. There are 6 rooms in total. The master bedroom is on the 3rd floor. Each room has an independent dressing room. There is a glass flower room on the roof where you can grow flowers and plants. There is a private garden behind the house. It's relatively big, you can take a look at it as you like. Yunsu looked around. The house was decorated in a typical Western style. Western-style sofas, tables, chairs, and crystal chandeliers could be seen everywhere. The whole house was extremely functional and generally more suitable for young people. Grow vegetables, just grow vegetables. As long as the customer is willing, you can raise chickens, ducks, or pigs. A large group of people rushed to the next house, number 11Z1. "Dad, Aunt, what do you think?" The front yard was decorated with swaying green trees, and birds were cuddling on the branches. Walking through the path paved with bluestones, we reached the front door. We pushed open the heavy dark red door and followed a few people in. Therefore, when it is rare to meet a customer, the sales lady will naturally try her best to sell him. She is extremely well educated, and she is not looked down upon by the plain clothes of everyone in the Yun family. How can it be so simple for Mr. Xiaoling to greet him personally? She led everyone to the first apartment, Z1 number 8, and several people got off the sightseeing bus. All you can see are rockery rocks, gurgling water, and a small pool dug in the middle. A koi carp swung its tail, creating clear waves in the pool. Villa properties such as Z1 have always been open for 3 years and stayed open for 3 years. Firstly, the price is expensive. In addition, the wealthy families in Lanchinge have their own old residences. Even if they purchase new properties, they mostly buy them. For investments such as apartments, there are few new wealthy people, and even fewer can afford them. It is already very popular that only 3 units of a newly opened building like theirs can be sold. She did make a lot of money, but most of it passed through her hands and was invested in Yunchinge's bottomless pit. Now she only has 1 or 2 billion in funds at her disposal to buy a house. Of course it's not a problem, but it's really impossible to buy them all. The style of this set is obviously very different from the previous set. It is a Chinese classical decoration style with black tiles and white walls. Yun Daijin and Qing Lian's eyes instantly lit up. Yun Xiao looked at her mother speechlessly. Who would grow vegetables here? Growing vegetables? The sales lady's perfect smile also became a little stiff, but she quickly realized, growing vegetables is also a very good choice. The soil here is very good and is very suitable for the growth of all kinds of vegetables. This set is in the Chinese style. It is in the form of a courtyard. Directly opposite the door is the living room and tea room. The furniture is made of century-old mahogany furniture. It is elegant in style and calm in temperament. There are wing rooms on the left and right. There are also 6 rooms, and the backyard is a flower garden. The sales lady introduced it to everyone in turn. Yoon Daguo smacked his mouth, and he also appreciated Bulletin de las style. It has been almost 3 years since RZ1 opened for sale. There are a total of 30 houses, numbered from 1 to 30. There are only 3 houses left. I will show you one by one. The sales lady was still introducing Qinglian, then let's go see the next one. Okay, Yunsu expected that her father and others did not like this Western style. Although it was promised that if you don't like the decoration style, you can unconditionally redecorate it, but it would be too time-consuming and labor-intensive. The sales lady noticed the changes in the expressions of several people and pushed open the entrance door with a smile. Yoon Daguo looked at the small pool and praised, "Not bad." Yunsu saw her father's eyes getting brighter and brighter, and the love on his face became more and more obvious, and she knew it in her heart. Qinglian looked at it here and touched it there, and she obviously liked it very much. Sales lady, what do you think of this set? Or we can take a look at the last set before making a decision. Dad, Auntie, Xiao, what do you think? Qingyu waved her hand quickly, just make your decision. Qinglian looked at Yoon Daejin, obviously wanting to know his opinion. Yoon Daejin was a little hesitant. What's the price of this house? It didn't look cheap. Asked directly about the price, it seemed that she was very satisfied with this house. The sales lady smiled politely and replied, "You are really discerning. This house is the king of RZ1 house. The current price is 70 million. About. How much, how much? Cao Liun almost bit her tongue, not believing the numbers she heard. 70 million, my god, how much is that? She couldn't even imagine that scene. How could the Daejin family have so much money? Or should we withdraw first? Yoon Daejin and Qinglian also took a deep breath. Their initial love for the product suddenly faded. No wonder it was so expensive. The price of this set is more expensive because the furniture decoration costs more. You should also know that the price of mahogany furniture in the market is already very good, the sales lady explained. Yunsu's expression did not change. 70 million was about the same price as she thought. Everyone in her family liked it, so that was it. She didn't want to look at it anymore. Are you ready to move in at any time? Okay, hearing the implication of Yunsu's words, the sales lady immediately replied, "We use environmentally friendly materials, so you don't have to worry about any safety issues, and the house is cleaned twice a week by professionals. You can do it at any time. Check in. If this house is sold, she can get at least several million in commission." Thinking of this, the smile on her face becomes even bigger. Cao Liun and Yoon Daguo's eyes widened. What do you mean? Do you really want to buy this house? This is 70 million, not 700,000. Where did Daejin and the others get so much money? Just as she was about to say something, Yoon Xiao stopped her and said, "Mom." Yoon Xiao shook her head. Cao Liun came to her senses. Anyway, this was a matter in Daejin's family, and it was hard for her to interrupt now. What's more, there was a new sister-in-law here, so she shouldn't say anything. Yoon Daguo moved his mouth but did not speak. They didn't say anything, but Yoon Daejin became anxious and pulled his daughter aside. "Susu, what do you mean? This house is worth 70 million? Do we have that much money?" Yoon-suk patted her father comfortingly. "It's okay, Dad, just like it. Don't worry about money." "No, can he not worry?" Yoon Daejin stared blankly at Yoon-suk's calm face, and suddenly realized that he really didn't seem to understand his daughter's financial status. Yoon-suk is also a little helpless. In order not to worry her father, she rarely talks about what she does outside, and her father doesn't know much about it. As a result, her father is worried about buying a house now. It seems that we still need to let them know something appropriately. Dad, let's talk about it when we get back, and buy the house first. She turned around and looked at the sales lady who was waiting patiently. She handed out a card and said, "That's it? When can I go through the formalities?" She looked at the card Yunsu took out, her pupils shrank, she quickly covered up the shock in her eyes, and put on a decent smile. "It will be done soon, please wait a moment." This is Haika. She has only seen her once in such a long time here. Sure enough, this little girl is not simple. Others were dumbfounded when they saw Yunsu's actions. Is this going to be bought? Susu randomly took out a card and there was 70 million on it. Qinglian came back to her senses and looked at Yun Daijin. "Daijin, is this too hasty? Buy it, Yun Daijin had mixed feelings. Since his daughter said so, let's buy it. The sales lady took a few people back in a sightseeing car, and after asking them to wait for a while, she came over with the house purchase contract. "Ms. Yun, take a look." Yunsu still believed in Lingfeng and signed directly without looking at it carefully. "Then we'll start transferring money here." Seeing the dust settle, the sales lady could hardly control the joy on her face. Not long after, Yunsu received a transfer message from the bank. After a casual glance, she frowned and said, "Isn't it 70 million, why was only 60 million transferred?" The sales lady explained with a smile, "That's right, Mr. Xiaoling has told you that if you buy a house, I will give you a 10% discount, and then erase the change, it will be 60 million. Mr. Xiaoling also said that you will definitely not agree, so let me not inform you first, and I will inform you after the transaction is completed. Please don't refuse." Yunsu. In order to save her money, Lingfeng really took great pains. "I understand, thank you." The wooden piles nearby stared blankly at Yunsu's operations, and the storm in their hearts was already rising one after another. Yun Xiao's mouth twitched. "Just give it a 10% discount. What is that? A fraction of 3 million. She may have misunderstood these two words. You bought it now." Qinglian took a while to find her voice. "Yes, but there is another level of formality." A few people came back to their senses and looked over. "What other procedures are there?" "Excuse me, whose name is the house written on?" the sales lady asked with a sweet smile. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 208. Chapter 208. Tell the truth. Isn't this the case where the name of the person who gives the money is written? Several people looked at each other. Yun Daijin glanced at Yunsu and warned, "I wrote it to you. Don't try to trick me again this time, saying that minors cannot have real estate in their name." Yunsu touched her nose. It seemed that her father had been in Lanchinge for so long and knew a lot he was no longer easy to fool. "Dad, let's write your and aunt's names," Yunsu advised. "What?" Qinglian didn't expect that Yunsu would mention her. She was shocked and waved her hands hurriedly. "No, this is absolutely not allowed." "Susu, it can't be done." Qingyu was also in a hurry. "How could this be done?" Yun Daguo and his family were also very surprised. Yun Daijin was not in a hurry to object, obviously he was waiting for Yunsu's reason. "We are all a family, and everyone has the same name on this house. Think of it as a wedding gift from me to you and your aunt. Besides, it's not like you didn't contribute to the purchase of this house, Auntie Cheng." Qinglian opened her mouth and didn't know what to say. Her 1 million was just a drop in the bucket here. "Daijin, please tell me about my child, how can this be done?" "Yun Daijin, just listen to Susu, let's talk about it when we get back." Looking at the keys in their hands, they still had an unreal feeling. From now on, their home would be at number 11 Zilu. The patient's family Yunsu summed it up in 4 words. She secretly decided to return the house to Yunsu in the future. Okay, Zilu welcomes you to stay. If you have any questions, you can come to me at any time. The sales lady sent them out with a smile on her face. After all the procedures were completed, the sales lady smiled brightly and said, I will give you the key to the room right away. If there is any need to change the decoration and layout of the house, please tell us. We will also clean the inside and outside again, so you can directly check in with your bags. Here Yunsu took out something from his bag. In the end, Qing Lian was defeated by Yunsu's eyes and signed. Yun Daijin was silent. No wonder she accepted King Lian's bank book so readily. It turned out to be waiting for them here. No wonder, it's so refreshing. Cao Liun suddenly realized, can the patient's family not give a discount? Qing Lian was sitting on the sofa in a daze. The house purchase contract in her bag seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds, and she felt uneasy when she thought about it. Okay, please sign here and show your ID. King Lian's face was full of surprise. What are you talking about? How can you accept this? I can write your name, but I certainly can't. I've been prepared for a long time. Yunsu smiled innocently. All the documents at home were placed in one place, so she could easily get them. He looked at the sales lady who was waiting for an answer and said, just write our 2 names. Qing Lian was dumbfounded. How could her ID be with Susu? Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Yun Daijin finally said, okay, then we'll accept it. Qing Lian watched Yun Daijin make the final decision, but she still didn't want to. I don't have the documents, so I can't sign. I can't sign. Susu, who is Xiaoling that the sales lady is always talking about? The discount is so much. Cao Liun held it in for a while and finally got the chance to ask. She felt dizzy when she thought of that astronomical figure. Yun Daijin and the others are very satisfied, there is nothing that needs to be changed. A group of people returned home. They were a little tired after looking at the house for so long, so they sat in the living room to rest. Dad, you can ask whatever you want to ask. Yunsu watched as her father hesitated to speak to her several times. Yun Daijin asked in a deep voice, there were many things in the past. I thought it would be better if I didn't ask and let you do it yourself. But now, everything you do is too beyond my expectation. I really don't feel at ease. Your uncle and his family are here today. We are not outsiders. Please tell me where you got all your money. Yunsu had expected that her father would ask this question. In order to reassure everyone, she thought for a while and said, most of my funding comes from medical fees. In addition, there are also various competitions. Bonuses and subsidies and incentives for some projects, you also know these, it is not convenient for me to say. Yun Daijin nodded, what else? Also, I made a fortune from stock trading before, but the rest is nothing. Stock trading, Yun Daijin frowned. Yes, but only once. Yunsu replied obediently. Give me a rough number so that I can be mentally prepared. Yun Daijin took a deep breath and prepared himself. Yunsu scratched her head. She hadn't done much calculation, a billion or so. She was thinking about her father's blood pressure. She said conservatively. How much do you say? Yun Daijin suddenly raised his voice was trembling, and his face was full of disbelief. The room was eerily quiet. Cao Liun has become a statue. The cigarette in Yun Daguo's hand has been burned out because he forgot to smoke it. The goddess Qing Lian looked in a trance. What did they hear? Yun Xiao swallowed her saliva. What is the concept of 1 billion? No wonder the 60 million yuan was taken out as soon as possible. Shock. A billionaire is by my side. But I don't have much I can use now, Yunsu added. What do you mean? Yun Daijin didn't understand. I am the only one who opened a company in partnership with others. I invested a lot of money and almost all the money was spent on it. Company, Yoon Daejin vaguely seemed to know a little bit, but he didn't know exactly what it did. Very good, it's just about opening a company. Maybe there were too many surprises today. They were used to being shocked and shocked. They surprisingly didn't react much when they heard about opening a company. Now even if Yoon-soo said she was going to fly the spaceship, they might all believe it subconsciously. Yoon Xiao's eyes lit up as soon as Yoon-soo mentioned the company. She knew this. Let me say it. Let me say it. Yoon Xiao met Yoon-soo's eyes and hinted wildly. Yoon-soo raised her hand and raised her hand slightly. Okay, you say. Yoon-soo raised her hand slightly. Yoon Xiao has been holding the secret for a long time, and finally she can tell it. Her face is full of excitement, and she can't help but say, I know. I know. What do you know? You know, Cao Liun slapped Yoon Xiao, who was about to jump up. Why is she everywhere? I already knew it, Yoon Xiao said with a proud face. I am the only one here who knows what Susu's company is. What? Cao Liun was even more surprised than knowing that Yoon-soo had opened a company. When did you know that? Just, the last time I came to my uncle's house to play. Yoon Xiao looked at her mother's face and realized something was wrong. Speak clearly, Cao Liun gritted her teeth. Everyone looked at Yoon Xiao. Yoon Xiao resisted the pressure of her mother's gaze and said, I also knew accidentally that Brother Hofan works in Susu's company. I came to see Brother Hofan found it when. Cao Liun cried out, you said Hofan works in Susu's company, the one with high wages and good benefits. Yoon Daejin was stunned and looked at his daughter for confirmation. Yes, this is also a coincidence. Brother Hofan only found out my identity after passing the interview. I asked him to keep it secret after all the words were said. Yoon-soo told the truth. Everyone received too much information at the same time, and their expressions were a little blank. Yoon Daejin was still a little confused. What company is yours? Who are you cooperating with? Such a big investment. Although Susu is smart, she is young and has little social experience. He is afraid that she will be deceived. Junyu Group, cooperate with them to develop games. Jun and the group. Two young men, Qingyu and Yoon Xiao, were the first to react. Is it famous, this company? Not only famous, Qingyu sighed, he is present in the top domestic companies, ranging from daily necessities to high-tech. Our economics professors often refer to Junyu Group to us. Give examples of successes in the business world. Susu, you are really amazing. You can cooperate with Junyu. Qingyu was full of admiration. Her goal was to work at Junyu, but now, her goal is Susu. Susu is so awesome. She will definitely be able to carve out her own world. There is no reason for a sister to be taken care of by her sister all the time. Yoon Daejin nodded. Since it was a well-known large company, he was relieved. But I haven't heard that Junyu is involved in games. Qingyu was a little confused. Just because we haven't heard of it now, it doesn't mean that our name won't be in the gaming industry in the future. In another half a year at most, the whole world will know our name, Yoonchunj. Everyone was stunned by the confidence and pride in Yoon-soo's eyes and were speechless for a moment. None of them understood what Yoon-soo was doing, but inexplicably, they all believed in what she said. There was a convincing power about her. I have decided that I will go to work in Susu's company after I graduate, Yoon Xiao announced confidently. How do you go in? Susu, you can't let her go through the back door. Yoon-soo, how is that possible? I believe Sister Xiao can come to our Yoonchunj on her own merits. Of course, Yoon Xiao raised her head and snorted coldly, who are you looking down on? Everyone laughed, and the slightly serious atmosphere suddenly relaxed. Cao Liun also laughed and did not hit her again. Yoon-soo turned to Qing Lian and said, so Aunt Qing, it really doesn't matter if your names are written on the house. You must not have any psychological burden. It really doesn't matter to me. We are a family. No, it needs to be so clearly distinguished. King Leon's face was calm, and her uneasy heart finally calmed down. She said softly, "Okay." Only Yoon Daejin didn't know what he was thinking, and he was too lost in thought to speak. "Dad, what's wrong with you?" Yoon Daejin came back to his senses and looked at Yoon Soo. For some reason, her heart tightened. Why did her father look at her with a strange look? Yoon Soo pursed her lips. Yoon Daejin was the person who knew her best. From Xiaoshui town to Lanchinj, everything she did was completely different from what she had done before. Her father had always had doubts in his heart. She talked too much today, and her father must have become more doubtful. She walked to Yoon Daejin and sat down, holding his generous hand, and said softly, "Dad, no matter what, I am your daughter, and this will never change." Yoon Daejin's eyes changed several times before he finally calmed down, looked at his daughter steadily, and said only 3 words, "I understand." Thousands of sorrows and doubts could not offset his trust in his daughter. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 209. Chapter 209. Moving to a new home. After settling everyone's questions, Yunsu called Ling Feng. "Thank you for the house," Yunsu said in a serious tone. He gave her a full 10 million yuan less. Needless to say, Ling Feng definitely put money into it. "This is something worth calling to express your gratitude in person." Ling Feng smiled on the other end of the phone. "As long as the house likes it, let the people below do it if you have anything to do." Not to mention the fact that she cured IU, but just because of Fifth Brother's attitude towards her, it wouldn't be a big deal even if he gave this house to her directly. Of course, he also knew that she would definitely not accept it if he gave it to her. When will you come to the capital again? That boy Zhou Ye often yells that he wants to get together with everyone, but he is afraid that you will be too busy and dare not disturb you. It will take a while." Yunsu rubbed his eyebrows. "I'm really busy recently." "Yes, I understand, we are waiting for you at any time," Ling Feng joked. "Okay, I will never be polite to you," Yunsu also said in a relaxed tone. After hanging up the phone, Yunsu thought for a while and decided to return this favor to him later on when he could find an opportunity. He carried his small suitcase to his room. "There is one more thing." Yoon Daguo sorted out his words. "Xiao told me before that the daughter of the Yoon family was malicious towards Susu and made a big fuss on the internet. I was afraid that she would do something to Susu." Yunsu touched his head and said, "It's fine if you like it, but you have to clean up your room by yourself. Can you do that?" "The army is busy with his business, and I am busy with mine." "Sister-in-law, please continue." Qing Lian was listening with great interest. "Before, I always thought that the Yoon family had compensated Susu, and I thought it was reasonable. I didn't expect them to have such an attitude. I don't think Susu has any nostalgia for that side. In this case, I will completely separate from them. Clear boundaries and stay away from each other until old age and death." "Hey, actually Daejin knows more than me, and I'm still talking to you for so long," Cao Liun said with a smile. She felt something was wrong. The two Yoondaguo brothers were sitting in the tea room drinking tea. Yunsu bought the tea set specially. She didn't tell the price because she was afraid of scaring her father and the others. Zilu thoughtfully arranged a moving service, and all their family's belongings were moved there in a matter of seconds. Yoon Daejin looked proud. "I know." Yoon Daejin nodded. "Sister, I like the new house so much." He was running and jumping in the yard, excitedly looking at the koi in the pond. "I don't know what smoke came out of our Yoon family's ancestral graves, which made Susu come to our home by accident. Although she is not of our Yoon family's blood, since she is here, She will always be our Yoon family's people, Yoon Daguo reminded his younger brother. This soil needs to be plowed like this. It must be plowed until it is soft and soft before sowing seeds. Then, in the backyard, Cao Liun was teaching Qing Lian how to grow vegetables. The new house has been cleaned spotlessly for a long time. Yunting has been screaming since he entered the door, with excitement on his face. Okay, then I'll tell you more. Yes, Yunting replied loudly, I'll go now. There are a total of 6 rooms on the east and west sides. The 3 Yun siblings live in the west. Yun Daejin and Qing Lian Zijing live in the east. The remaining rooms are for Uncle Yun and his family to live in. When they leave, they will be used as guest rooms. Since we have decided to move, we didn't waste much time. Taking advantage of Uncle Yun's family of 3 to help with the move, a group of people quickly packed up and prepared to move to Zilu. 2 men who have been doing farm work for half their lives never thought that there would be a day when they would sit quietly and sip tea. Qing Lian listened carefully and took a notebook to take notes. Although she had an unhappy life in the first half of her life, she had never been in the countryside and didn't know much about things in the fields. Daejin, you really have a good daughter, Yoon Daguo sighed. Yoon Daejin was shocked, no way. People's hearts are unpredictable anyway, you should pay more attention also, if she conflicts with Susu, your position. I understand everything, brother. Yoon Daejin's eyes were deep, Susu is my daughter. It's good to know. Yoon Daguo is not good at words, but he really has nothing to say about his concern for Yoon Su, his niece. He is afraid that when the 2 children have problems, Yoon Daejin will not be able to handle them. Whether he is partial or protective, anyway, he only recognizes Yoon Su as his niece, a good child he has watched grow up. After the family packed up, Qing Lian and Cao Liun cooked together, and everyone had a lively first meal in their new home. Dad, I'm going to Country E tomorrow. The International Congress of Mathematicians is about to be held, Yoon Su must go there. Yoon Daejin sighed, and the joy of moving to a new home instantly faded. How many days have you been back? You have to leave again. Qing Lian also said, I just took out the things in the suitcase and put them back in again. Susu, please don't let yourself get too tired. I'll be back in 2 or 3 days at most, very soon. Yoon Xiao's eyes were blazing. Susu, are you going to receive the award? It's just a nomination, I'm not sure whether I can get it or not, Yoon Su said calmly. Whether she could get it or not would not have much impact on her. You will definitely get it, Yoon Xiao said firmly. Then I'll lend Sister Xiao my blessing. If I really win the prize, I'll treat you to dinner when I come back. Good. Cao Liun glared at her and said, that's good. If Susu can get the award, we should celebrate her. It's all the same, Yoon Xiao didn't care. My family must unconditionally believe and support Yoon Su to win the award. Apart from her family members, the teachers at school may be the ones who want her to win the prize the most. Everyone has this on their minds. A few years ago, Lao Li even went to pray to God and Buddha to pray that she would win the prize. Some people expressed ardent hopes and others naturally expressed negative views. Once the initial enthusiasm for Yoon Su's nomination passed, many people calmed down and secretly analyzed Yoon Su's chances of winning the award. A professor bluntly said that Yoon Su's chance of winning the award this time is no more than 30%. It is not because she is not strong enough to win the award, but because she is too young. She still has a long time, and other nominations. Everyone is more eager to get this award than she is. One of the nominees from Country D is 38 years old this year. This is his last chance to win the Fields Medal. So even though her achievements are extraordinary, the international mathematics community still does not expect her to win the prize. Yoon Su herself may be the person who cares least about this matter. Although this award is extremely valuable and of great significance, when she was in Interstellar, she had won the Interstellar Technology Award, the highest award in the entire Interstellar, for 5 consecutive years, so for Faye she really doesn't have much psychological burden on the ERS award. It's great if she can win it, but she won't be disappointed if she doesn't win it. After dinner, Yoon-soo went back to her room to pack her things, but she soon discovered a problem. She did not have formal attire for the meeting. The International Congress of Mathematicians is an extremely formal occasion. Obviously, the casual clothes in her wardrobe cannot be worn, and dresses are not suitable. Yoon-soo has a headache. It is definitely too late to customize clothes. It seems that she can only go out now. Bought now. Ching-yu and Yoon Xiao accompanied Yoon-soo out. The three of them went straight to the largest shopping mall recently and entered a store at random. The shopping guide with a smile on his face immediately came to greet him. "Hello, how can I help you?" "Susu, what kind of clothes do you want to see?" Yoon Xiao's eyes were dazzled looking at the dazzling array of clothes. It was her first time in such a luxury store, and she was a little at a loss. Something more formal, a black suit. Yoon-soo usually wears comfortable clothes. She is busy and hasn't done much research on this. "Do you need to attend a formal event?" the clerk responded immediately. What do you think of this little black dress? It's elegant and elegant." She quickly made a recommendation. "No skirt," Yoon-soo refused. "Okay, look here again." The shopping guide led her to see other styles. King-yu and Yoon Xiao sat on the sofa and waited. A clerk immediately served tea and snacks. "Chu-yang, look over there." In the shop opposite, a girl with exquisite makeup glanced casually, stopped, widened her eyes, and immediately pulled the sleeve of the person next to her. "What are you doing?" "I'm looking at my clothes," Lee Chuang said impatiently without raising his head. Zhang Meng tugged at her again. "Look. That person seems to be Ching-yu." "What?" Lee Chuang turned around immediately. "Why is she here?" "Have no idea." "Let's go and have a look." Lee Chuang didn't even look at his clothes, just pulled Zhang Meng and walked over. "Ching-yu," Lee Chuang shouted. Ching-yu turned around when he heard the voice and looked at Lee Chuang and Zhang Meng, with a trace of impatience flashing in his eyes. "Xiao, who is this?" Yoon Xiao asked curiously after swallowing a piece of snack. "My classmate." Lee Chuang seemed to only have eyes for Ching-yu. "Why are you here?" Ching-yu's face was indifferent. "What else can you do here?" "Want to eat?" Yoon Xiao stopped eating. Xiao Yu's tone didn't seem to be a close classmate. "I mean, you're such a poor guy, why would you show up here? Is there anything you can afford here? Don't be embarrassed here." Lee Chuang stood in front of her and looked at her condescendingly. Ching-yu didn't even look at her. Yoon Xiao was angry. "None of your business. Who asked you to shout here? I wonder who is embarrassing? It's funny." Zhang Meng glared at her. "Who are you? Do you have the right to speak? Who are you? Do I still need your consent when I say something? Your emperor is not in a hurry yet." "Why are you in a hurry?" Yoon Xiao glared back unceremoniously. The shopping guide next to me, who couldn't interrupt, could not help but laugh. "Why are you laughing?" Zhang Meng looked at Yoon Xiao with anger in his eyes. "How dare you call me a eunuch?" "I didn't say that. You want to blame me for your own opinions." Yoon Xiao felt refreshed, and she had never lost to her mother in terms of talking. "You." "Okay," Lee Chuang frowned, looking at the looks of people around him, feeling a little irritated. Zhang Meng held back her anger and said no more. Lee Chuang asked, "Let me ask you, has Xin Yuan been looking for you recently?" "You ask me?" "I'll say it again, Chiu Xin Yuan has nothing to do with me." Ching Yu looked impatient. "Yoon Xiao, who is Chiu Xin Yuan?" An inexplicable person. Ching Yu didn't want to say more. "Inexplicable? Do you dare to say that you and Xin Yuan have nothing?" Li Chuang stared at her with dark eyes. "I am his fiancé." "What kind of fiancé?" Yoon Xiao was stupid. They were only in their first year of college, shouldn't they all be adults? "Why are you engaged?" End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 210. Chapter 210, Argument in the Shopping Mall. Several shopping guides looked at each other. This triangular issue was so tense. How should they persuade them? Let me say it for the last time. Qing Yu raised his head, stared at Li Chuang and said word by word, I have no interest in Qiu Xingyuan. Aren't you his fiancé? Then please tell him not to harass me again and show up in front of me. In front of me, otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Li Chuang was so angry that he began to speak indiscriminately, if you don't look at yourself in the mirror, who are you? I'm still harassing you when I'm far away. It's obviously you who seduced him, shameless. Keep your mouth clean. Who is so shameless? Yun Xiao didn't expect that there would be such a person who behaved in public, and she immediately raised her eyebrows. Qing was so angry that he smiled back, should I seduce him? What makes him worth seducing? What gives you confidence? Is it that greasy appearance or that idiot-like personality and self-righteous tricks? She has endured it for a long time. Not long after she entered college, Qiu Xingyuan, a well-known and rich second-generation student in the same department, found some way to provoke her and annoyed her. And Li Chuang, the so-called fiancé, regarded her as an imaginary enemy. Fortunately, college is not like high school. There are not so many so-called small groups that crowd out someone. Everyone is an adult and has their own things to be busy with. There is only this love-minded young lady. No matter how she explains it, she stubbornly believes that Qiu Xingyuan likes her, but is temporarily confused by her. Instead of going to the person involved, she makes trouble for her every day, which is simply unbearable. Yun Xiao was stunned when she heard this. She didn't expect Qing Yu to have such a sharp tongue. What are you talking about? Who dares you to say that you will have a long way to go? Li Chuang was so angry that his eyes were red, and he became angry. Why are you pretending to be noble? I know, don't you just climb high and want money? I will help you, make a price. When Qing Yu heard such stupid words, he immediately felt that what he had just said was being told to a dog. It was a waste of effort, and he did not want to say any more to her. Miss Li, please don't make it difficult for us. The shopping guide looked embarrassed. He obviously recognized Li Chuang. Logically speaking, such VIP customers cannot be offended, but everyone who comes is a customer. If they really drive the customer away, then after word spreads, how many people will dare to come to their store? Li Chuang's noisy voice made many guests who came in frown and didn't bother to look at their clothes. They all went out to look elsewhere. What's the noise about? For some reason, she looked a little familiar to Yun Su, but she didn't think much about it. It's hard to do, isn't it? Li Chuang snorted coldly. Okay, if she doesn't leave today, I will leave. Don't expect me to visit your store again. Please calm down, please, and tell us what you have to say. The shopping guide, who finally found an opportunity to exploit the situation, cautiously advised. Yunsu didn't even look at her, and looked at Qing and Yu to express doubts. Yun Xiao covered her mouth and smiled. Who are you? Don't mind your own business, Zhang Meng glared at her viciously. Please tell me. What's the matter with you? Get out of the way. I'm a VIP customer of your store. Li Chuang's eyes were arrogant, and he suddenly remembered something. No, come here and kick these two people out. I told you you two don't have the money to buy your clothes. I don't know how you dare to come in and shop. I am doing it for the good of your store. If anyone can enter your store, will there be any other customers? Li Chuang asked sophistry. Hello, I am the store manager of our store. Do you have any questions? The store manager, who received the message, came belatedly and asked with a decent smile. A cold female voice came from behind. Several people turned their heads and were caught off guard. Li Chuang met an indifferent look. which made her heart tremble for no reason. Store manager, right? You're here just in time. If she can't make the decision, you have to make the decision, right? Li Chuang glanced at the shopping guide who had his head lowered. I'm sick, Yun Xiao rolled her eyes. Where did she think this was? Is the whole world her eldest lady's territory? Does it mean what you say? Qing Yu, crazy. Kick these two, no, three, out of here, Li Chuang corrected. The one behind was also from their group. Kick out these three rubbish. Both Qing Yu and Yun Xiao were dressed casually, and they really didn't look like rich people. Yun Xiao almost laughed angrily. I finally understand what it means not to argue with an idiot. Don't you like that Qiu thing? Tell me, if he sees your face like this, will he hate you even more? What nonsense are you talking about? Li Chuang panicked for a moment and then calmed down. She said whatever she wanted, Xin Yuan wouldn't know. Didn't you hear what I said? Hurry, Li Chuang yelled at the store manager. The store manager's smile remained unchanged and he looked at the three young girls. At first sight, he was attracted by the standing Yun Su. Looking at the clothes on her body, his eyes widened slightly. Hey, Su, you look so good in this dress. Yun Xiao's eyes were filled with astonishment. She was so angry that she didn't even notice. Now that she calmed down, she saw that Yun Su had changed her clothes. It's really good looking, Qing Yu also agreed. Really? Yun Su looked at the mirror casually. The girl in the mirror is wearing a well-tailored black suit, which is not the traditional square shape. The V-neck extends to the lower part of the chest and is buttoned diagonally to outline the girl's slender waist. She wears a white shirt with a pointed collar underneath. The top button was undone, revealing the delicate collarbone. The lower body is a pair of black slim-fitting suit trousers. The girl's superior body proportions are clearly visible. The shopping guide gave her a pair of shoes. The silver-white shiny shoes have a low heel, only a few centimeters, which makes her legs look longer and straighter. The slightly mature look on Yun Su's body is inexplicably harmonious. Maturity and youthfulness blend together, presenting a complex and unique temperament. Looking at the few people talking as if no one was watching, Zhang Men was furious. Just as she was about to speak, Li Chuang pulled her back. Don't panic, just because you can afford it doesn't mean you can afford it. Just wait and see them make a fool of themselves. She calmed down now, with a malicious smile on her lips. Zhang Men rolled her eyes and reacted, waiting for a good show. Seeing that the two of them were silent, the store manager walked to Yun Su and praised, "This is our brand's special model this year. It's the only one. It's really suitable for you to wear." She is not flattering, but this suit of clothes is really attractive, and her figure and temperament are indispensable. She has not seen a customer who is more suitable for the suit of clothes than Yun Su. No, this suit is suitable for her. It's really good looking, Su, how about this one? It's also more formal. Yun Xiao and Qing Yu both thought it was good. Okay, Yun Su is also a person who is impatient and keeps trying on clothes. What's the price? Yun Xiao asked. Li Chuang sneered in her heart. These three poor country bumpkins really dared to ask the price. She wanted to see how they ended up. Store manager, the price of this set is 233,000 yuan. So expensive, Yun Xiao said subconsciously. It's just a set of clothes, more than 200,000. If you can't afford it, get out of here, Li Chuang sneered. You dare to come here if you don't have money, it's really embarrassing. The store manager's smile remained unchanged and explained, because the suit is handmade by our designer and there is only one piece, the price will be a little more expensive. If you are not satisfied, you can look at it again. Looking at other styles, they are also very good. No, just this. Yun Su took out a card at random. The card surface is pure black with a dark red logo on it. The store manager's pupils shrank. This is the logo of their mall. The mall belongs to the Junhee Group. This card can only be given away by the chairman himself. Only 5 people in the National Super League own it. Although she has never actually seen this card in so many years, every employee in the mall is familiar with it. Remember this card just so that you don't neglect the distinguished guests who have this card. How could this young-looking girl take out this card casually? The store manager did not doubt the authenticity of this card because it was impossible for anyone to counterfeit it. Her attitude became more respectful, and she handed the card back with both hands. Please keep this card. If you can take out this card, it won't cost you anything. Show this card at any store under the Junhee Group and you can take away what you want without spending a penny. End of this chapter.